Um, I don't know. I just felt like coming on to say hi to all of you. Feels like it's been for a while. Um, and I'm regaining my energy too. So I think that's been helpful. I wouldn't have been able to think about doing something like this if I were too energetically exhausted to do it. So I thought, well, why not come on and celebrate? Because it's a glorious moon. I don't know, you saw it starting last night. Did you go out there and see that moon? It was just glorious. So I was really drawn to her energy. And this is a full moon, but super moon, and it's a strawberry moon. And it's not because it's pink, to be honest. It's just this is the time of strawberry harvesting, and they call it the strawberry moon, but it doesn't mean that the color is going to be pink, but it is pretty close to the earth. So you will see it large in the sky. So please do go and say hi. And for those of you who did the moon course with us for 29.5 days, you know that full moon we're wrapping up with the phase 2 with it. And you've worked on your self-expressions and getting to know yourself, right? And if you want to go back and take a look at which organ that we were working on, the phase 2, and we're going into phase 3 now after this. So be sure to check on that and revisit, because this full moon is definitely impacting your pelvic floor, okay, as well as your posture. So I'm going to be recommending to do some postural work together tonight. So if you're noticing yourself feeling a little bit out of alignment or needing that little extra chiropractic adjustments, or you feel maybe your shoulder blades are rolled forward, your chin is going forward because you're spending way too much time in front of the computer, this is really showing up right now. Pelvic floor, but especially like SI joints are being impacted this weekend, and not weekend, but this full moon. So be sure to pay attention to where you are in terms of your alignment. And it isn't just about physical alignment, but alignment of where you stand in your life. Okay. So pause for a moment, think about it. What is my alignment like in life? It isn't just where your head sits in alignment with your pelvic floor and your feet and your arches, but are you showing up to your life with the alignment that you want to show up with? Or are you twisted to one side? Are you hunched forward? Are you feeling like you need to close in on your heart to show up to certain situations? What's going on? Okay. And the water is impacting us a lot. And some of you probably already heard about the news with what's going on with the flooding in Yellowstone. But the water elements are kind of kicking in right now. So see, maybe, are you needing more fluids? I'm definitely needing a lot more fluids in the last couple of days. And, but I'm not going to the bathroom that often. So there's some kind of a hydration that it's needing to be addressed in my body. So I definitely would check in with that also. Maybe some of you are experiencing a little more constipation than usual, like dryness of the skin, dryness in your eyes or sinuses, maybe even dry throat, like your scratchiness in the throat. Okay. Those are maybe some of the water elements that you want to address. So pinch of sea salt, maybe minerals added to your water. Check in and see, are you just drinking pure water, or are you drinking too many herbal teas, too many cups of coffee, too many bubbly drinks? Are you adding all kinds of bubbles and tasting things in the water? Why not drink the pure water? What's going on with that decision, right? So check in with all those wonderful things, okay? Because the magnetic pull is extra powerful right now, right? Because the moon is closer to us. To me, it's, I said to Chris too last night, I said that the moon has this deep desire to be close to us. And I think a lot of us think that we have the deep desires to want to be close to the moon. The humans are connected to the moon, and we are, but I actually see it the other way, because that's what the moon said to me last night. The moon, she says to me, we want to be close to you. We are interested in you. We want to be a part of your rhythm too. So there's that little bit of a yearning that you will feel from the sky. The sky will be calling on you. And let's see, maybe some other notes that I might have put in. Yeah, so couple of things. This full moon is particularly challenging in terms of this concept of holding the both and idea. You might be feeling like you're getting pulled towards either or ideas, and you're getting a little bit extreme in certain things, and you have certain opinions about maybe particular politics, or maybe rules, or domestic issues to international issues. You might be like, I'm never going to be able to hold these two ideas together. I'm only going to believe in this side. And you're getting very rigid in this either or concepts. Then the full moon is asking you to say, can you hold all that together in the fullness of expressions of all of us? And that's going to feel somewhat challenging to you. And on the personal level, and on the individual level too, but in our own inner bodies, you might feel like there's a little bit of tug of war pulling between how your intuition is guiding you and what your inner wisdom is wanting you to do, and how to be closer to your soul expressions. But then you're getting pulled and being a little bit frustrated and confused with maybe things that you have to get done, or like maybe other people's opinions are pulling you in this direction. So there's this pull towards the inner higher self, inner wisdom, intuitive guidance, but then there's this pull towards something else, and you feel kind of pulled apart a little bit, and you get frustrated with it. And that frustration will oftentimes right now show up as, I want to check out. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm frustrated and I'm going to shut down. So many of you may be feeling a little bit of freeze mode. I've been noticing that with a lot of my clients, is that it's not fight or flight, because fight or flight, you're still kind of engaging with the situations. But the freeze mode is like, you know what? It's done. I just don't even want to deal with it. So you might be feeling a little bit of that frustrations. Okay. And I have a couple more things to say, but I'm going to take a pause because I got to drink some water. So I'm going to hand it over to Chris. Maybe, do you see some comments coming in that have not been seen?
No, I don't think you've missed any comments so far.
Okay.
To do with what you just said. But one thing that I would want to piggyback on what you're saying about essentially balance is, well, it's not balance in sort of this idea of becoming completely still. The kind of balance that we're talking about is very dynamic. So it's moving. We are working on standing in a way that we can not only receive what's coming, but we can respond to it in the best way possible. And so what Masami mentioned, and I know we had a couple of things in mind to talk about today, like posture, and I'll wait to say more about that until you cue me. But
Yeah.
It's just something to really pay attention to. You is noticing how you're positioned physically right now. And is that a pattern that you can notice how you're sitting, or if you're standing, how do you stand? Where is your head and your neck in relation to your body? Things like that. So we'll come back to this in just in a little bit here, but it's an invitation. I think every time, this is what's so powerful about the moon, is that we get on average, about 13 moon cycles per year to reflect and review these patterns. So we don't have to get it just perfect in one shot and then be set for life. We have all of these opportunities month after month, year after year, each moon cycle, to come back and visit our own system, as a whole. And just with that said, there's also the solstice coming up, the summer solstice, which is a bit of an imbalance. You know, it's a very energetic time leaning toward action and activity. And so that's another place where we might pay special attention to our posture. So I'll hand it back to Masami and we'll lead back to this in a minute.
Yeah, I had a couple of things I wanted to say and then I forgot.
Well, I can keep going.
I can't remember. So yeah, we will talk about the posture for sure. But I think, right now the full moon reveals a lot in us. It's not just beautiful in the sky, but it's our inner ego, the little S self and the capital S self and the inner knowing. But there's this little S self that is constantly saying, I'm not good enough. I could do more. I could be more. And then there's this inner knowing that says, I am full. I am complete. I am satiated in who I am. So you might feel some of that intermingling of these things, and it's okay. It's not you need to fix or anything. It's just know that inner, it's pretty powerfully playing inside you, because the moon has so much impact on your water fields, right? So you are made out of about 70% of water. Some of you have heard me say that the babies have a little bit more water. That's why they're all pudgy and, cute little cheeks and things like that. And then as we get older, we are shriveling up. Basically, we're drying up. So this is very important that you notice how the moon is helping you to come back to your body and say, hey, are you hydrating? Are you connecting with your elements of who you are? Because water is one of the most important elements that we have inside us. We have our earth element in us. We have fire element in us, but the water element is a key. And I think for the year 2022, water element is going to become even more important in who we are, on the earthly level, Mother Gaia level. And we're going to see extreme drought to extreme water fall, meaning like too much torrential rain, flooding, all those destructiveness of the water and the nourishing part of the water. So it's all water element, right? It's not, water is all about the flow and beauty and, staying young looking and all that. But there is this destructiveness, and there's this like dried up, shriveled upness of the water too. That is still the water element as well. So learn to balance these things. And if you're feeling a little bit of a pull inside you, be aware that is just your connection to the bigger things. And I would celebrate that if you're feeling that, because that means you're a lot more in touch with who you are. You're in touch with the more of a bigger cosmic flow. And I was just saying this to one of my clients before I got on the call. I just got off the call a little before I got on this moon call. But I was saying to her that if you begin to feel and you begin to use words like, I'm lacking in flow, or I feel a little stagnant, I feel stuck. Those are the words that our spiritual energetic fields use, okay? Body has its own language, and the cosmic world has its own language too. But if you're beginning to feel and say words like, I feel stuck, I feel I'm in frozen mode, like nothing is moving, everything is stagnant, everything is stuck. Those are the kind of a spirit's language. That's a very much like your guides and angels and spirits and your support system. The cosmic language speaks in that kind of a word, kind of those words, okay? So pay attention to that. If you're uttering those things, that means your spirits are trying to get a hold of you, saying, hey, we're not flowing. Can we come back? Can we reassess? Okay. And so let's see. I wrote a couple more things. And anything else coming in while I'm looking at this before we do some movements?
I see that we have some people catching up with us on what's been going on with them. And
okay.
Yeah.
So That's good. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah. I think that's good. I've maybe other things that will come up, but one thing that we wanted to go into, actually maybe like two main topics for this full moon. One is the subject of hope. Okay. And you might think, well, what's hope got to do with anything that we're talking about? But I do want to address a little bit about hope, and it can get a little esoteric and maybe too, could be a little complicated. This topic is complicated. So I don't want to go into it crazy amount, but I do want to talk about hope. Okay. And another thing that we want to get started with first is the posture, your somatic posture. So one of you mentioned, Chloe said, she watched the Somatic Summit, and, somatic work, body-oriented work has been the love of mine. And I can't help it but to think of my training in fascial work. And in the myofascial world, we see a lot of fascia getting tight in the front. And Chris can chime in with this, but they've done a lot of studies. And this was a horrible studies that they did, when people used to experiment on people in like 1930s and 40s and 50s. But they videotaped and took pictures of these people, not videotaped, but took pictures of these people immediately after a gunshot that they were not aware of. Okay. Or really strong sounds like something blowing up kind of a thing. So it startles you, right? It completely takes you into this like a different nervous system. And what happens with your body shape is that your body shape will look like you spending too much time in front of a computer. Okay, I'm going to say that again. When they've studied these bodies of complete shock for their nervous system, and they're going into full-on shock in their bodies, their body shapes look just like you spending too much time in front of a computer. And what that looks like, side view, okay, is like this. They go into that. So the back becomes C-shaped and their chin goes forward. Okay. And Chris, you want to chime in about that?
Sure. I can just tell you that it was something that wouldn't pass the ethics board these days, because what they did on this study was done in the 1950s, when a lot of things that we would consider them inhumane these days were done regularly on prisoners and things like that. But basically what they did is they photographed somebody standing with full posture, and then without letting them know this was going to happen, they brought a gun with a blank round in it close to his head, and then they fired it while photographing him and watching his body position change. And that became sort of a classic image that is known in some circles as the sympathetic slump. So Masami just demonstrated that for us. It's that the chin kind of dropping and jutting forward, the neck coming forward. This is what happens when we are also stuck in our head, stuck in our stress, and getting disconnected from what's happening in our physical bodies below the neck. And so this is something that is vitally important for us, especially right now, as we're being hit by all kinds of stressors, from news and weather events and politics, you name it, the economy, the market crashing, all of these things that are just in our atmosphere right now. So I was also reminded, just as you were talking, Masami, I was just thinking about that TED Talk. I think it was Amy Cuddy. I think she was from Harvard. And she did this talk about power poses. And, there's a lot of research that's been done on that. And she's written a book and talked about it quite a bit. But it's one of those things where it's shown that how we hold our bodies in space, so how we physically position ourselves, has very much to do with our sense of self, our self-confidence, our belief that we have about what's possible in our lives. And it also directly connects to things that are related to mental health. So depression, anxiety, states that keep us in low energy are there. It's cyclical, circular. So if we are having poor posture, it's going to signal our brain more and more in our energy levels to go into those depressive, anxious states, and vice versa. When we start to practice aligning our spine and elongating our necks, and as Masami has said in past programs and calls, fluffing up our tails. So you kind of, tipping your tailbone back a little bit and getting that nice J curve in your spine. Okay, so you're having a nice flat back and a little curvature down at the lumbar. So those kinds of things have all been shown to really impact our mental health. So we're in an era when everything seems like it's coming apart that we were familiar with before. And that causes us to feel all sorts of things that we may not have expected, whether it's anxiety or just curiosity. It might even be a sense of loss or shame or something that was unexpected. And all of those things translate into our physical body. So I'll pause right there because I know Masami has more to add to this, but just tuck those little details away as we go on here. Oh, you're muted.
Chris and I have been talking about the mental health. There's so much emphasis on mental health. And at the same time, we're a little bit frustrated with it because mental health is, to us, functional nutritional therapists and people that have done like trauma-informed trainings, we see the mental health as more of not the cause, but the symptoms, one of the symptoms. And posture to us is also one of the causes of the expressions of mental health decline. Okay. So having really open posture, I think the full moon reminds you of that, because the full moon and the full bright shininess of that energy picks you up, lifts your sternum a little bit. And I imagine a little fish hook going in there and it's just tugging you up a little bit. That's what the moon is asking us to do. But so many of us are living with a very much closed heart center posturally. And so it's really hard to talk about mental health and avoid the topic of the posture. And we shouldn't omit that. Your expression of how you feel will show up on how you present yourself, how your alignment is. So if your alignment is off, you're twisted in and you're hunched forward, it's very difficult to have the nice big smile in your heart center. So just take a moment right now. And, I forgot to bring, maybe Chris can bring it for me from upstairs, but I have this thing that I put a bag of quinoa in this little sandwich plastic bag. And then I put it over my top of my head, and Chris will bring it down for me. But you can put a little pressure on the top of your head, everyone. You can do it with both hands. Just a little pressure. And up against that pressure, push your head up against it. Okay. All right. Your neck will elongate a little bit. So your hands are pushing, and your top of your head is pushing up. Then let go of your hands and come back to the sitting or standing. Can you feel the little bit of difference? Just doing that. Okay. Because we're just getting pulled by the gravitational force right now. Computer force. Okay. And we're not connecting with the heavenly energy up there, with the moon energy. And Chris brought this up for me. Thank you, Chris. So this is kind of funny. Okay. It's my homemade little thing. You can make it yourself. I have quinoa in here. Okay. It's the little, I think I would say a little bit bigger than a sandwich bag size, right? So I would say I have about 2 pounds. Okay. Yeah, about 2 pounds, or maybe a little less even. And I have the pad, the hot pad things that you use for your oven mitt. It's oven mitt, isn't it? It has a little stickiness, so it's very easy to put it on top of my head. So with my hair, it probably won't work that well, but basically I wake up first thing in the morning. I do the tongue cleaning, and then I get the water and I go outside. I might do a little movements, and then I grab this and I place it over my head. Okay. And I literally see, I just kind of readjusted myself. And when you have this, it's really actually hard to. Okay. So that C-shaped, scary, like you got nervous, you can't do that, because if you do this too long, this is going to start to slide off. Okay. So your chin will naturally kind of come in. All right. So this is easy to make, right? You can make it with beans or rice or quinoa. We got sick of quinoa, just so you know, just the story behind this quinoa is that I'm so tired of quinoa. I don't even want to eat this thing ever again. Maybe not ever, but for a long, long time. We ate nothing but quinoa for years. And one year we looked at each other and we said, I can't do quinoa anymore in my life. So we haven't actually cooked quinoa in about 4 years now, Chris. I just can't do it. I overdid it. So that's why the quinoa has a better purpose now. Okay. So that's a great way to get that little pressure, right? So let's do that again. So top of your head, right? You can stack your hands if you want, or, interlace your fingers, and you push up towards that. Then the back of your neck will lift up and the top of your head will lift up towards the heavens. That's what we want. Okay. And when you do that, heart center actually naturally comes up, and then chin goes in a little. Okay. Now keep that posture and let go of your hands. Okay. Are we feeling this? Give me thumbs up. Okay. Okay, good. And the next thing that you can do, you can just do that. And sometimes I will be walking around with this. What was I doing this morning? You were laughing at me. I was doing something with this.
I don't remember, but you're always doing something that catches me a little bit off guard, because it's Masami will come into the room doing something, and she'll often share these things on these calls, but sometimes I'm just expecting her to be there talking to me, and then, whoa, what are you doing? So
I think I was doing something. I was doing that thing. I was walking around like this. Maybe I was, oh, that's right. It was a trash day. So I was collecting the trash from different rooms, and I came over and you just looked at me. You were laughing because I had the trash can with me. So anyway, so you get the point, right? So that to readjust, because trust me, I'm in front of the computers too long every day, all day. So I'm literally going like this. So one thing I want you to know is that your head weighs about anywhere from like 10, 11, 12 pounds up to even like 16 pounds. Okay. That's a bowling ball that sits right here. And isn't it weird that this is kind of like bottlenecked area, right? It becomes super small in this area. Then you have this bowling ball that sits right here. Okay. And another interesting thing is that every degree that you go forward, okay, adds 10 pounds of additional weight that pulls with the gravitational weight. Okay. So every degree meant I meant every inch you go forward with your head adds 10 more pounds to the rest of your body, particularly your neck and right here in your shoulders. Okay. So many of you, if you touch this area on your own, right at the shoulders area, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, why am I so tight? Well, yeah, because you may weigh about 15 pounds here, and all of you that show up for these calls are so smart. So I know you weigh about 16 pounds, noggins. I just know it. Okay. That means, but every inch you're adding 20 more pounds to it. Okay. So hold on to the shoulders and then see if you could relax your shoulders. Okay. All right. You're massaging it. Keep it pinching so it's relaxed. Then go ahead and put your head forward. Where are you feeling that pain? Where you feel that kind of a strain? I feel it right on my lower back, right in my sacrum area. Okay. Each time I'm pushing my head forward. And now get the chin forward, everyone. This is what we're doing all day. If this is not supporting you, right? That's why the shoulders come in and say, I will help you, because there's too much going on in the back, right? So putting a quinoa, rice, beans, whatever on top of your head every day, once to twice per day. I do it a couple times a day just to kind of realign myself, okay? Another one is just use your two fingers, gently put your fingers on your chin and ask your body and your head to just tuck it a little bit. Just tuck the chin a little and drop your shoulders down. Good. And you could do that a couple more times so your body remembers. Push a little bit. So tuck the chin a little bit. Back of your head extends. You're lifted up through the top of your head towards the heavens. Good. Once again, push. And you could do that again. Push. Let's do 3 more times. So it's different than just not using your fingers and going, trying to go double chin on it. That's not it, okay? Pull the chin down. Pull the chin in. And last one, just hold it. Good. Then let go of your hands and remember that top of your head reaching up towards the heavens. Remember that feeling? Combine it together. All right? And then see if you could get a little fish hook to open up your heart center so you can communicate with this beautiful full moon. The brightness. Yeah. Okay. Are you feeling the difference in your body, at least from here up? Okay. So far, so good. Okay. And when you're in that, it's kind of hard. Okay. And then give yourself a little Thich Nhat Hanh smile. What I mean by Thich Nhat Hanh smile is that he always had that gentle little smile. He didn't like show his teeth and smile, but he just had that just a little bit. So my yoga teacher used to say, lift the corners of your mouth towards the heavens a little bit. Okay, just a little bit. And remember the top of your head and tuck your chin down a little. And when you do that, your brain stem gets a little bit extended, right? Then your vagus nerve doesn't need to be like, oh my God, I'm freaked out. Okay. Because you can extend your vagus nerve a little bit. It's not crunched up. Okay. So when you're sitting like that or standing like that, it's actually really hard to get triggered by negativity, difficulties, frustrations. So even think about things that are challenging to you right now. But if you could approach that challenge with this upper body posture, you will feel a lot more empowered. You'll feel like you can connect the different parts of your brain to make the right choice. Okay. So see if you could feel that. All right. So any thoughts, Chris?
Always.
Always.
I would say also to that, all of these little things that we're doing here are providing subtle messages to your brain about your relative safety. And so even down to that little smile, just turning up those little muscles at the corners of your mouth and at the corners of your eyes. You know, that's one thing, is you can't fake yourself on a smile. If you don't use your eyes, you're not really smiling. And there are these points on the face. So right at the corners of the mouth, right at the corners of the eyes, right at between the brows. When these little muscular movements are happening, they're actually telling your whole system that you are safe, that you can relax. And this helps you to just settle into what you're doing and be present. And so with these postural things, like what Masami was just having us practice, these directly connect with so many of the chronic issues that people have with headaches and lower back pain. Those are two of the biggest things that come out of poor posture. And then if you do it enough over time, it eventually will change the shape of your spine because your muscles atrophy around that poor posture. So here's another thing that you can add to this mix, and it's sort of I would say reflective of the full moon energy. And that this is one of the power poses, is just to open your chest with your arms wide and just feel that for a minute. Just feel that sense of welcome and openness.
Don't do it, Astrid. I see you driving. Don't be doing this pose. Both hands on your wheels.
That's
Okay.
right. Disclaimer, if you're driving or operating heavy machinery or holding small children, do not do this. Okay. So just notice, now maybe come back into that position that Masami was just showing us, with the elongated neck and the top of your head lifting up slightly. It shouldn't be a strained movement. Okay. It's something.
Can I put a little disclaimer here, Chris? Is that okay?
Yeah.
So if you just decided to do a power pose, okay, everyone, and I'm in that C-shaped, fearful, oh my gosh, I got just startled kind of a thing, and you want to go, I'm going to do a power pose, and you just go out like this with the chin forward, okay, that is not a power pose, everyone, okay? You've got to pull the chin, top of your head connected to the heavens, your heart center slightly lifted towards the moon, okay? Then do the power pose, and it will make a total difference for you. You can do it seated, or you can stand with the feet shoulder width apart, okay? Fluff up your tail. I'm doing it standing, but you can definitely get a sense of, wow, I belong in this space. I think a lot of us feel like we don't belong anywhere. I told Chris, I said, my biggest challenge in this life is that I always wanted to belong, and I didn't belong anywhere growing up in the culture that I grew up in. And that has kept me really struggle for years. And then that crept up for me this past couple of days, is that I don't belong anywhere. But that's because my body is not supporting of me belonging in me. Okay. So work on the heaven connection, earthly connections with the tail fluffing and the feet, but chin tucked in so that the back of your neck opens up, so the vagus nerve can open up. The brain stem isn't freaking out. Okay. So the limbic part of your brain isn't firing and going, oh my gosh, where's the fear? Where's the danger? Because when the chin is forward, remember everyone, this is a truly fear, anxiety, worry, something bad's going to happen position. So from that, no power pose practice is going to do anything if your bowling ball is tilted in one way or the other. Okay. So connect with the bowling ball first, then the power pose arms. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
You got a lot more in there than I was going to say, but the power pose is something that you can't do, like Masami said, if you're small and you're curled up. And in fact, it's a statement to your environment and your physical body that you are not afraid to open up. And you can't open up when you're in a self-protecting mode. Okay, we've seen this with our pets, dogs in particular. You can really see when they're afraid, they hunch down and they curl up, they protect their vital organs, they get smaller. But when they're relaxed and they're comfortable, they'll get out on their bellies and they'll roll around and they'll expose their vulnerable parts to you. And in a way, that's what we're doing, is we're announcing our presence, saying, I am here. Mm-hmm. And it's not asserting yourself over anybody else. It's the power that you have in your own life, in your own space, to take action as you need to.
And I think it's making sense, Chris, now why I said to you that the moon is yearning for us. And that's because the moon is looking at what's going on the earthly level and saying, all these people want to belong. They want to have connection with who they are, but they're not standing in their own inner wisdom. They're not standing in their own inner alignment. And I think the moon is asking us to come back to that alignment again. And I think that's why I felt the moon speak to me saying, we miss you. We miss you knowing who you are. We miss the expression of you, earthly beings. Okay. And I think that's why I think the moon was asking me to get on the call today, do something, do the postural things. And I was like, why postures? And Chris was like, why? What's posture got to do with anything with the full moon? I'm like, I don't know, but it'll come to me. I even told him, I don't know what the heck I'm going to talk about, but I'm going to talk about the posture. But it makes sense now in my heart. The moon is yearning for us to really reconnect with our own stance and say to the world, I'm here. Okay. So many of us have been playing our lives too small and saying yes to things when you should be saying no. And you're saying no and freezing, and you are giving up on things when you should be like, I'm going to leap into this. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm going to say yes to this. So find out what is going on in you. What is it that you're not saying yes to? What is it that you should be saying no, that you're continuously saying, all right, I will do it. Well, that's not a stance that you want to take. Okay. Moon is like basically shining this light on you and saying, shine as brightly as you can, as you, and show up fully. You're safe to be who you are. Okay. Many of us just don't feel safe. I was feeling like I didn't belong. It's just really deep seated for me. And many of you know my background, but literally growing up in a society that I did not look like anybody else was tougher than I even actually understood it to be. And it's in my cellular memory, but many of us here, and I would even say all of you, are unique in your own expressions. And all of you have always probably felt you didn't quite belong. You were the odd ones. You were the black sheep of the family. You were always the ones that was never been understood. Okay. But we can't expect the world to understand you, and we can't expect the world to invite you in till you take the stance fully with your 2 feet on this earth and let the moon shine on you, because the moon says, I've always loved you. You've always belonged to me. We've always been friends. We've always been connected. And that's what the moon was saying to me. Okay. So number 1, take the power pose, take the stance that says, I'm here. Okay. So let's everybody connect with the top of your head again, pull the chin in again. So the vagus nerve is nice and long. Okay. And then your lymphatic system can start to drain that way. Okay. And then we're going to do the power pose. But before that, I'm going to have you do a W pose. W. So just create a little W with your arms. Okay. Your elbows can be out or be closed. That's okay. Either way. And I want you to pull the chin in. So the back of the neck is definitely long. Okay. And bring your arms behind you. So you're squeezing your shoulder blades just lightly. So you have like a soft balloon between your shoulder blades. So you're not squeezing it, so it's going to pop. Okay. Then bring your arms forward. Okay. And go ahead and open up. And while you're doing this, I want you to begin to connect with the chi ball, right? The prana ball between your hands. So maybe let's play with your prana ball first, because you're going to be doing one of those toys. Maybe Chris, you can help me. It's like slingy stuff.
Oh, the Slinky.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take over for a second.
Take over for a moment. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take your hands, what you can do is start to bring them toward each other very slowly until you might notice a little bit of electrical buzz between your palms. And for some of you, you might get all the way almost to touching before you feel it. And some of you might notice it further out, but you can actually play with that sort of in and out, feeling that energy between your hands. And it's real. This is part of your energy field. Okay, this is something, so you can feel it. And at times it will almost feel like there's a pressure there, a light pressure. And if you slow it down and push, it almost feels solid. Can you notice that? The subtle thing. So it's like very slight movements. And you can almost feel a little tug sensation as you do this, as if you're pushing against something solid. So you can play with that and then maybe bring it back out like Masami's showing you slowly, bringing that out and then gathering it slowly back in as if you're loading a spring. And you can feel that pressure getting stronger as your hands come closer together. And just to test it out, you might bounce your hands toward each other just a little bit. That's the slinky she was talking about, the little spring action. Okay, and then bring them apart. So what you're doing here is you're exploring your own space, your own field. And as Masami was talking, it made me think of, you know, the message coming from the moon to her. It reminded me that as we're exploring our own energy, our own power, we talk about this power pose. I mean, that's just one name for it, but it's only in relation to ourselves. Okay, it's about our own power, our own being, how we're here. It's not about other people. And it reminded me of when I was recovering from very serious injuries that had changed the shape of my spine because I broke several vertebrae in my neck and back. And it changed the shape of my, the position of my head sitting on my spine. It's actually tilted by several degrees from this injury. And so for several years, I was in not only a lot of pain, but I kept trying to change my shape so that I would appear to the world as if I were still whole and still powerful in some way. And so for me, what that looked like is an overly exaggerated chest opening. And that's how I would stand, because if I didn't force that to happen, I just wanted to collapse into pain and self-protection. And that forcing didn't really help either, because it was really uncomfortable. It took a lot of energy to hold it. But I would do that just because I felt like it was the opposite direction of what that injury was trying to make me do, which was to fold and collapse. And so I think something was happening internally that my body knew that it was trying to regain that equilibrium, that balance, that sense of stability and safety. And so it took me several years to find it again as I healed. But I tell you that once you start to connect with that sensation and that feeling of being grounded and having really solid but relaxed posture, it will change how you show up in the world. It will change how you experience yourself. And then that changes everything. Okay, Masami's got her bag of quinoa back on her head. So I think she's got something else to say.
Well, no, thank you, Chris. It's really true. We overly compensate for our injuries. Oh, this is kind of funny, isn't it? I forgot that I'm talking with this thing on. Oh, well, I'll just keep it on.
What I'm talking about. She'll show up with some kind of device or something that she's trying out or using, and then we'll, yeah. But anyway, we have conversations like this all the time.
So basically, you know, my frustration that I have in the world of, like, let's say, breathing techniques and things like that is that your breath will change based on the posture. Okay. Breath changes based on the container of you. All right. So let's say if you have like one of those party balloons that's kind of long, right? And if you squeeze this part, let's say it's the chest part, and you went into this shock mode, so you collapsed your chest, okay, and you pulled the chin forward, but the belly is sticking out, let's say. So you have a party balloon, you squeeze the top part, then all the air moves. Basically gets a little bit bigger on the bottom, doesn't it? Okay. So it's not the air shifted, but your posture moved the air. So I want you to really understand that. Okay. If I let go of this hand and then push this side, squeeze and pull the belly in. I studied ballet for a long time. So I know how to suck my belly in, and I'm a certified Pilates teacher. So more so suck the belly in. I know how to suck my belly in. So I know how to squeeze this bottom. So then the top part goes up, right? So I'm a chest breather. Okay, I have a hard time breathing into my belly because posturally, I can't get there. So no matter how many breathing techniques you study, how many, breathing summits you sign up for, and they take you through all these breathing techniques, if you don't change the stance of how you stand and how you sit and how you carry your container, your physical body, no amount of breath work is going to stick. I hope that makes sense, everyone. You've got to change the body posture first. Then you can introduce new kind of breathing. And just by pulling the chin in, getting the back of your neck high and raised and then stretched a little bit more, top of your head reaching towards the heaven, and the W work of the chi, right? The prana ball extending across your third chakra and out, okay? Then you hold your power pose for a few minutes. Then when you come back to sitting, okay, you will naturally breathe differently. Your breath will change. And it's not because you did breath work for a 3-day breath work summit, okay? You just changed the way you showed up to the world. That will change the way you interact with the atmosphere, with the air around you. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, right? And another area that gets very tight for me is this area. It's called this is where the solar plexus is, but this is where your lymphatic system comes into. Okay, stomach sits right there. It gets very tight. So some of you, we've done that work to stretch this area, right? If you can stretch and move the fascia a little bit, just touching that third chakra right there with your flat of the hands, just a few seconds, few minutes. Then you sit down and see if you could breathe a little bit more fully. You didn't change. You didn't go to breathing technique classes. You didn't sign up for all these certifications for how to teach pranayama. No, you just rubbed your body and gave your body a little permission to open up. Okay. Because all of us are walking around this earth according to what the moon said to me. And as we speak, I'm talking to the moon, just so you know. She says to me, all of you are walking around with this traumatized bodies that are not able to take in the beauty that is all around you. And you're trying to do so much to learn more techniques and this and this and that, when you need to come home to your body and rub, touch, be with you, and allow this space to open up, then atmosphere will come in. Okay. You're not lacking in oxygen, trust me. You have plenty of oxygen. Okay, we're not running out of oxygen. It's you that is limiting the possibilities of the cosmic flow. Right? So I just wanted to go into that. I went into the preacher mode. So sorry, everyone. You know, I go into priestess. Priestess, is that the word?
Priestess.
Priestess mode when I'm channeling things, right? You've heard me. My voice changes. I get kind of like preachy, but that's when I'm channeling, everyone. You know that.
Can I just add one thing?
And before that, I just wanted to mention, Claire said she put the little bag of ice. I think that's great. So many of you are experiencing heat waves too. So that might be a good thing, right? To put some bag of ice on there and then lift your head up like that. All right. So I hope that made sense, right? That you're not lacking. The universe is not lacking in anything. It's plentiful. Okay. We all have plenty. It's just your body is inabilities to accept that and receive that. That is where the issue is. Okay. All right.
All right. Maybe we can close on this thought then. I'm trying to remember who said it. So I'm not going to try to cite the person who said it because I'm not sure. It's one of 2 or 3 sources. But it's a description of beauty that you just reminded me of. And it's something that we've touched on here, I think, in its parts. And it goes something like this, that beauty is the welcoming openness of the truth toward us. Okay, beauty is the welcoming openness of the truth toward us. So by having that focus on what is a sensation of beauty, it actually kind of puts us back on our heels a little bit. It makes us stand up straight because we have this moment of awe and wonder that places us directly right here, right now. Beauty doesn't happen in the past or future. It happens right now, and it opens us up. So that's the invitation that I hear coming through with the connection between the moon and our bodies and the very subtle nonverbal ways that we communicate internally with ourselves and then project that out into the world.
Yeah. And I did not know, everyone. I had no idea what I was going to talk about, but the moon said, don't worry about it. Leave it to me and we'll take care of this. So thanks to the moon, we were able to talk about all this and be guided. And one of the things that Chris just brought up is that be here now, right? The Ram Dass, be here now. We're all walking each other home. That's what Ram Dass said, right? Is basically when you sit with chin forward, your entire body shifts towards that to support that, okay? And you will end up being on your tiptoes a little bit. When you're in the tiptoes, you're going to have anxiety around the future. But if you sit back too much, I have a friend that sits on like a lazy boy chair all day long watching Netflix. And, my friend might be on here and I'm talking to you. Okay. So sitting back on a lazy boy, that means you're leaning way back on your heels. Then you're frozen. You have no wish to do anything differently. You don't move any differently. You feel stuck in the past. And what's interesting is that this friend only listened to the music from his era. Okay. He doesn't listen to anything new. He only listens to the same music that he grew up listening to in his 20s and 30s. Okay. So I love you, but you've got to start standing in not tiptoes or the heels, but right in the middle where your arches are lifted. Okay. Earth is saying, come on up, come on up. Okay. And the moonlight is going, come on up with us, towards us. And your toes are rooted. Your heel is settled in, but you're not either too much in your toes or too much on your heels. Okay. That's where you want to find your balance. That's the nowness. Okay. That's the nowness. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is briefly about hope. And it's a very big topic. So I'm not going to go into much. I'm going to leave it with you to think about it. And one of the calls, we will talk about this, and I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Okay. I was asked a question yesterday on one of the interviews that will air in July that with all that's going on in the world, what keeps you having hope or something like that? What keeps you, what was it, Chris, that I said?
I think it was just what keeps you hopeful.
Yeah, what keeps you hopeful? And so there was this assumption. Okay, you might think, what? Where is she going with this? There was an assumption from the person that asked me this question that I am hopeful. Okay. And you might think to yourself, well, of course we should be hopeful, right? Because so much going on in the world, hope is all we got, Well, not so fast, because I do come back to the T.S. Eliot's work where he says, and I'm just going to quote just a part of it, but this is his long, from his 4 quartets. Okay. He says, I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope. I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope, for hope would be hope for the wrong thing. For hope would be hope for the wrong thing. You know, it might be a little bit confusing, but what I mean by this is that we hope usually based on what it used to be. We hope the future will look like this based on what you didn't like or what you liked of the past. So what's important, and Pema Children talks about this too, but is to stand in the place of hopelessness, that there's no hope, that you're not basing your future on what it used to be, what good old days was before pandemic, or what could be better based on the past. That's the liminal space. The liminal space is to stay in the point in your life where it's neither the past or the future wishes, but to stay in the place of not hope. I hope that makes sense in a little bit somewhere. I hope you're not making sense in your head, because it's not about understanding cognitively. What I said should stir something up in your heart. Okay, so see if Chris has something to say, and then we'll wrap up.
Masami just opened a very large door.
I know I did. But the moon really wanted me to talk about this. It's the moon's fault. It's her fault, really.
We'll blame the moon for this one. What I would add to that is also, it's not say, don't have hope and instead despair. It's saying, ask yourself, what else is here right now that I'm not seeing? So it's inviting all of what is here to be here with you and you to be with it, rather than to wish for something to be different than it is. That's another way of thinking about this. Because hope is normally like rekindling or something of the past. I just wanted to go back to what it was like or normal. And there's no such thing. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what's going to unfold. So to stay in this liminal space, you have to hold the word. It seems a little bit strong in English language, but it's like that hopelessness, meaning don't hold hope, but stay curious, stay open, remain in the here, and stand with that power pose. And say, I will align me. I will work on my alignment so that I'm a conduit to whatever this is that none of us know any answers to. And I don't follow anybody that claims to say, I know the future. I don't, because nobody knows. Nobody's been here before. So there's a sense of anxiety around it, maybe, but change that anxiety to curiosity and openness, and stand in your own alignment. That's all that you can do. So when she said, how do you stay hopeful? I didn't want to open the can of worms, so I didn't go down this road, but I just wanted to share with you that I am going to remain open so that even my small thinking mind that creates hopefulness for the future
won't get in the way. That will get in the way of manifesting impossibilities. Do you know what I'm saying? I hope so. It's too small of a thinking. So go bigger and be in this moment. That's all we can do. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say. And, you know, I think I keep saying this is all I can say, but many of you know my favorite haiku. And there are a couple of Japanese here, so I'm going to read it in Japanese. This haiku says everything about what moon means to me and what I mean by not holding on to hope, but to be here now. Stay curious and open. So the haiku goes like this. Kurayakete sawaru mono naki tsukimi kana. Kurayakete sawaru mono naki tsukimi kana. So what it means is that my storehouse burnt down. That's the first line. My storehouse burnt down. But there's nothing to obstruct the moon view. My storehouse burnt down. There's nothing to obstruct the moon view. I think where we're at is the storehouse has burnt down. A lot of things are burning down. A lot of things are ashes now. We can't go back to how it used to be, okay? And shouldn't. A lot of politics are getting uprooted and stirred up. There's a lot going on because the storehouse of this world is burning down and has burnt down in many cases. But this is your opportunity because now you have nothing to obstruct the moon view. You get to see the moon now. But the haiku doesn't say anything of, I'm hopeful that I can rebuild my storehouse. That's not the haiku. It's literally the haiku writer, the author, stood there in the middle of the ashes. And this is what he was guided to the moon view. The moon shined on him and said, now you get to have a communication with me. Now you get to stand in your own way without these things obstructing the true view. I think that's what sitting with, not carrying such a load on the hope. But like T.S. Eliot said, I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope. For hope would be hope for the wrong thing. We're not trying to rebuild. We are letting things burn down so that you can truly see what light is. Okay, so I hope you can begin to maybe just be here now, knowing that all of us are walking each other home. You're not alone, you belong. That's what the moon keeps telling me. I belong. We belong. But we have to sometimes walk through space that's been burnt down, just so you can see the true view of the moon. Yeah. So happy full moon, strawberry moon to you. Thanks for being here. Chris, anything else to add? Anything else to read? And then we'll wrap up. I mean it. Wrap up.
It's okay. I got the last word then.
Okay.
Thank you, Chloe. I'm just going to say this out loud. Thank you for the very beautiful little white flowers that you sent that are reflecting the moon's light. And also thank you to Kari and others that mentioned the little miracles of strawberries that are showing up for you also at the same time. So just remember that life is always giving us something, and it's worth slowing down and taking it in. So thank you all for showing up. And
could you read Katie's comment?
Thank you so very much for your sharing.
Oh, no, just this morning, I wrote goodbye letter to friend who has been the most cherished friend I've ever had. It was time to end the relationship, not serving each of us well anymore. Though my heart hurts, I definitely feel the moon is in clear view now. Oh, I'm glad I read that. Thank you. Yeah, you got it. We're all haiku authors, aren't we? So go out there and say hi to the strawberry moon, okay? And know that all of us are connected. Yeah. All right, we'll see you soon. Oh, you didn't get the last word, Chris. Say goodbye first.
Goodbye first. Okay, we'll see you all next time.